Hello, how is everybody? For those of you who don't know me, I am Maria de Almeida, psychoanalyst, so if you have any questions about videos or therapy, send me a message. You have all my contact details online. In my previous video, I tried to explain you how, believe it or not, you can interpret an obsession, a symptom in the Obsessive Compulsive disorder. Today, I thought that you could be interested in knowing a bit more about this disorder, so I wanted to continue talking about Obsessive Compulsive disorder. It is a dialect that we need to decipher. Remember in my previous video, the symptom of Jack Nicholson. Behind every obsession, there is like a secret that the patient wants to keep. As opposed to other disorders like, for example, hysteria, in which we can have like also symptoms in the body, this disorder is very mental. Other than constipation, there are normally no symptoms in the body. We are going to see a bit more of this disorder using the clinical case of Ratchman. This is one of the most famous Freud's clinical cases in which he explained how obsessive neurosis works and how you can fix the disorder. So to give you a bit of background, the name of the case is Ratchman because the patient was a man who was suffering from obsessions and impulse, and his main obsession was related with fantasies and nightmares about rats. So the patient was a student at university and he was suffering from obsessional fears and also compulsive impulses. One of his main fears was, well, not his main, it was all the time the same fear that something bad will happen to his dad and also to his girlfriend. So in order to avoid that happening, he was like putting random bans, like for example, don't do this because if you do this, something bad will happen to your girlfriend. Don't do this because if you do this, something bad will happen to your dad. So as you can see, his fear was triggering the rituals to avoid his fantasy of something bad happening to his dad or to his girlfriend. So when this all started, the disease of this person began in relation with the death of his dad. A year later of his father's death, he visited Freud and he told him, I'm feeling so guilty, this guilt doesn't let me be. And Freud at that time interpreted him that it's true that he was feeling guilty, but that guilt was not related to him not being present in the death of the father, because the patient insisted all the time, yes, this is the reason why I'm feeling so guilty. I feel so guilty because my father died and I didn't have the chance to spend time with him before his death. So Freud told him that the guilt was true, but not the reason why he was feeling guilty. So this is exactly how the analysis works. If we know that the guilt is true, we need to track it because there has been a displacement to understand what was the representation, the original one, who triggered this guilt. So then Freud began to think, okay, if he wasn't feeling guilty because he wasn't present in the death of his dad, why would he feel guilty? And then he realized the only way in which someone can feel guilty, or the only moment, is when we break moral inner laws. Because if someone breaks an outside law, sometimes they could even feel like heroes and they could be perceived like that. But if we are breaking a moral inner law, we will feel guilt. These laws are the laws of the Oedipus complex. We will see in previous videos what I mean by this. I know this is very complex. So, even when the patient was highly moral, it's true that he had some things that he had done in his childhood that he was a bit ashamed of. He was judging himself because of that. So as an example, when he was 7 years old, he told to Freud that he was terrified of the idea of his parents being able to know what he was thinking. So imagine, he wasn't thinking something good. And then another example is like, for example, he also told to Freud that when he was 12 years old, he fell in love with a girl at school, but the girl wouldn't pay any attention to him, so he began to think, what if my dad died? Maybe she would feel compassionate and she would talk to me. So she began to think on the advantages that the death of his dad would have and how he could benefit from it. He was judging himself because of that, but if you can see, the wish of death for the father has already been transformed. So, this is exactly what we need to understand in order to be able to solve this disorder. What happened is that the people who suffer from these obsessions experience magical thinking. What does that mean? They feel like if they had killed the father. Let's say that they think that because they wish something, that will come true. So they think, in this case the patient, that, oh my god, when his father died, was like, I have killed my father, only because he has wished, when he was younger, his father died. Freud explained to the patient that the fear of someone to the death of his dad is something perfectly normal in every human being. This fear is coming from the love of the mother. This triggers ambivalence of affections, which is super normal, and we all have that. The problem is that people who suffer from obsessions, in them this ambivalence of affects is huge. Every time they love someone, they experience at the same time a very deep hate. So this led them to believe, how I'm going to die my dad? It's impossible that I hate him. And also the problem on top of that is that these people tend to idealize everything. So for them, if it's love, it has to be pure love. That is why they doubt themselves. How is it possible that I love my girlfriend if I hate her as well? How is it possible that I love my dad if I hate him as well? So this is very complex, I know, and this is why in my next videos I want to explain you further the implications of the ambivalence of affects and guilt in the obsessions. Thank you very much. Bye!